broadcast will start in 30 seconds. This broadcast will start in 15 seconds. This broadcast will start in 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. The Voice of Stockton. For more information on The Voice of Stockton, go to thevoiceofstockton.org.
The views and opinions expressed in the following program do not necessarily reflect those of KXVS The Voice of Stockton or its parents, affiliates, management, and staff.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another amazing episode of the Phone Booth here on KXVS, The Voice of Stockton. My name is Ed Heitman, your host for today's episode of the Phone Booth, and joining me in the studio today is my good friend and co-host, Brian Rodriguez.
Hello.
How you doing, Brian?
Good, how are you?
Also joining us in the studio today, we have a couple of other guests as well. Joining us in the studio today is our good friend and comics expert, Ira Ford. How you doing today, Ira?
Yeah, how's it going, everyone? And happy Comic-Con weekend, I guess. Yeah, going on.
Yeah, I think it's safe enough to say that this is good enough to be its own little holiday and whatnot. Also, joining us in the studio today is a very special guest. Please welcome to the studio, to the phone booth, my little brother, Lucas Heitman. How you doing today, Lucas?
Good.
Happy to hear that. Now, for those of you who are unfamiliar with what the phone booth is about, the phone booth is a show completely dedicated to pop culture. Anything from movies to video games to TV shows to comic books, you name it, and we do our very best to cover it. Now, we are very excited for today's episode of the Phone Booth because if you recall, the last time we covered a major event, as well as the last time that Ira was here, we covered E3, the Electronics Entertainment Expo, the granddaddy of all things video games, and we covered a lot of really good titles around that time and whatnot. But now it's time for another amazing event, San Diego International Comic-Con 2018. Now, for those of us who are unfamiliar with what the event is, Brian, would you mind giving us a little bit of a backstory on what Comic-Con is about at San Diego?
Well, it originally started out being, funnily enough, about comics. It was, an expo for comics distributors, for authors, writers, artists to come together to show off their wares to fans, the public, sort of get a bit of exposure, get to spend a bit of time with fans, connect, network. Mm-hmm. And then it sort of got taken over by the entertainment side of the comic book industry, the comic book movies, the comic book TV shows. And now it's really more of a media convention than a comic convention, which, some people debate about whether it should be, but it's always a place where you get to see the newest superhero movie trailers, the new announcements for what movies are coming out, the new TV shows, all things like that.
Oh yeah, definitely. And you know what? I'm kind of glad that it does focus so much on superheroes in its entirety because for those of you who, almost everybody who lives everywhere has have some sort of comic convention over where you're at. And sometimes it ranges from like a local in your neighborhood to ranging out into a city. San Diego Comic-Con is different. It's the big Comic-Con. Yeah. All the major releases, all the major trailers, all the major comic lines, these all get saved for San Diego to be released. Mm-hmm. And we're excited to cover this content. But before we go into the weekly recap, I kind of wanted to do something a little different. I wanted to ask you guys each, what exactly do you guys look forward to whenever Comic-Con rolls around? And I'll start with you, Brian.
Really, what I look forward to is the trailers. There are a lot of great movies that in our line, we see them announced way early, and we don't really get to see any of the footage from them or the filming from them. Yeah. So being able to see the culmination of all this casting, of all this work that goes into them, that's always fantastic to see.
Definitely. Now, on to you, Ira. What do you usually look forward to when you go to when you see Comic-Con roll around each year?
Well, every year when a Comic-Con comes around in the summer, always looking forward to the huge events, like showing off the new TV shows. Mm-hmm. New TV show trailers and movie trailers like Brian, and also just what new characters or some that are going to be announced for it. Like Because at this convention, even though there are a couple people skipping, like Marvel Studios and Game of Thrones and stuff like that, but still excited to see what they announce on the TV side, because there's a lot of TV comic shows at this convention this week, though. Yeah,
definitely. That's actually a pretty valid point. One of the main reasons why I look forward to going to Comic-Con, or one reason why I like seeing stuff from Comic-Con, I wish I could go to Comic-Con, is usually the fact that they release new characters, new comic spin-offs for characters that either have never been shown before in the industry, or they've just been like one-shot characters, and everyone's like, we want more, so we do get more. So I look forward to that. What about you, Lucas? What do you usually look forward to when Comic-Con rolls around every year?
Comics and the movie trailers.
What kind of comics do you usually look forward to?
Let's see, Batman.
Okay, all right, that's good. We actually there actually is a new Batman line of comics that recently came out, but we'll cover that later on in this episode. But first, as with every episode of the Phone Booth, ladies and gentlemen, we like to start off with a quick recap on various news events and whatnot that occurred within the week. Because being the news source that we are, we like to do our very best to keep you up to speed. So Brian and I will take turns going back and forth to discuss various news pieces with you all. And I'll start. So it turns out Joaquin Phoenix's Joker movie finally has a name and a release date. This is the Todd Phillips Joker film. This is not to be mistaken with the Jared Leto Joker film that he is starring and executive producing. This movie is going to be titled Joker. Plain and simple, cut and paste, which is fine with me and everything. And it is intended to be released in October of 2019, supposedly around the time of Halloween. I'm looking forward to this because also Brian has informed me that Zazie Beetz is also set to be involved in this movie with a certain role. And if you're unfamiliar with who Zazie Beetz is, she recently played as Domino in Deadpool 2, and she also did a really good job in the hit FX original series Atlanta. But yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to it. Brian, what are your thoughts on the new Joker movie getting an official release date? Because for a while we didn't really know anything about it.
I'm actually kind of concerned with how soon it is, because the last DC movie that had this rushed of a timetable was Suicide Squad.
Yeah.
That it was announced and that it would be coming out like the next year around the same time that it was announced, and it was, I mean, we all know what happened to Suicide Squad. It was a mess. It was started being re-edited by the trailer company. It was just a complete disaster, and I don't want that to happen to the Joker. I like the Joker. Don't screw up the Joker.
True. But allegedly, this Joker movie is not going to be taking place in present tense DC universe. It's actually going to be its own standalone thing. And this is also supposed to be a Joker origin story. In fact, Todd Phillips is in the process of trying to find somebody to play as the Joker's mother. And it's also been theorized that Thomas Wayne, Bruce Wayne's father, is also going to be making an appearance in this as well. So I understand your concerns. I mean, we all know how Jared Leto's Joker ended up being in Suicide Squad and whatnot, and I do hope that isn't the case. But with an acclaimed actor like Joaquin Phoenix, I think there is potential for that. Anyways, Ira, what are your thoughts on the new information given?
Well, the first thing that I like about is the fact that it's actually a standalone movie and not set in the DCEU with the rest of the movies, because they'll actually have more freedom to tell a different type of Joker story. And
definitely.
And again, it's also a similar situation that I'm seeing with the new Venom movie that's supposed to be coming out this year.
Yeah, taking place in its own universe.
Yeah, that's also sounds similar to because around this same time last year, I think the Venom movie was announced to be coming out in like October of this year.
Yeah.
And it sounds similar with this new Joker movie situation, but so far, as long as it's Joaquin Phoenix, I think he can pretty much nail the Joker, and with all the because he seemed really excited in an interview recently that he said he can't wait to see what people think of it when it comes out next year.
Yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to it. Lucas, are you excited about this new Joker movie with the new information being given and everything?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Just out of curiosity, Lucas, who is your favorite version of the Joker? Because there's a lot of them.
I would say the classic the classic Joker.
The one from the comic books?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's interesting. That's cool. That's cool. Okay, guys, we're going to go on to the next topic, but as I said earlier, we're going to bounce back and forth between news articles. So, Brian, I'll let you cover this one.
Okay, so last week we talked about The Culling 2 and how it launched sort of under the radar and became an instant flop.
Yep.
You couldn't get full matches of people. In fact, many reviewers managed to win the matches by being the only ones in them. It was, it was poorly made. The background of it, the fact that The Culling 1 was seemingly just abandoned so they could make this quick cash grab. The optics weren't great. So the developer, Xaviant, has decided to pull the game from stores. They're offering full refunds to anyone who bought them and have announced that they will be going back to working on The Culling 1. They will be reverting it to the build that it launched with that a lot of fans liked and didn't like that got changed over patches. And it will be changing to a free-to-play model.
Interesting. I'm really looking forward to that. Now, for those of you who are unfamiliar with the franchise, The Culling was basically something similar to a Battle Royale game. In fact, some people say that it's been a Battle Royale game before it became very popular. And it's basically like the equivalency of your typical prison game show. The inmates are forced to go against each other in combat, but the first Culling focused more specifically on melee combat. But with The Culling 2, from what we had gathered, it basically scrapped everything that made the first one good in an attempt to try and be more Battle Royale-ish, like PUBG. But as if any of you have ever seen the gameplay footage for The Culling 2, it was just atrocious, just all sorts of bad. But anyways, time to go on to the next topic. So World of Warcraft is finally getting with the times. So Blizzard has announced that all expansions for this game, including the upcoming Battle of Azeroth, will be included with the game's subscription. Now, Brian, what are your thoughts on that?
I'm concerned because on the one hand it seems like, okay, they're finally putting the expansions as part of the subscription, because World of Warcraft's sort of been a relic for a while now in that they have a subscription and they have paid expansions. So it seems like, switching over to having the expansions part of the subscription, that's great. However, they're not including the new expansion in this. You're still going to have to pay around $40, I believe it is, for this.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not sure if it's really a great change if you're just going to switch over to, oh, yeah, now these expansions are with the subscription, but you still have to keep buying the new ones, because if they do a thing like, say, wait a year and this expansion will be part of the subscription, what inspires people to go out and buy the $40 expansion when they can just wait for it to be $15 a month in a year? I'm worried that this isn't really a change in business model. This is really just sort of a PR stunt. They've stopped being able to make money hand over fist with these old expansions, so why not just include them as part of the subscription to try to drive subscriptions? And I don't really know if it's much of a change. I think it's more of a stunt.
Okay. Yeah, makes sense. Makes sense to me. Anyways, Brian, why don't you cover the next little news topic?
Okay, the CW is making another superhero show, like the 7th one at this point. The network has announced that Greg Berlanti, the man that created Arrow, The Flash, Supergirl, pretty much their entire superhero lineup at this point, will be making a series about Batwoman, set in the same universe. Now, we've known for a while now that Batwoman was going to appear in the next big fall crossover event between all the superhero shows, and now it's looking like that's going to be a backdoor pilot for the series as well.
Yeah.
Interesting. Now, Ira, being the comic books expert that you are, what are your thoughts on Batwoman finally getting her own series in the CW universe?
Well, they're actually supposed to show a trailer, I guess, or something about the crossover tonight. I think at their panels at Comic-Con.
Yeah.
So I'd say after we see what if they introduce Batwoman in that, what she looks like, then yeah, I'll probably have a better opinion of going forward about how they're going to develop this new Batwoman series on CW with the rest of the CW shows. Because yeah, so far the one I'm watching the most is the Black Lightning.
Nice.
But yeah,
nice.
But it sounds interesting because they're also introducing Gotham in the city Gotham in the CW Arrowverse in all these shows in the new crossover as well. So
interesting.
Can't wait to see that. Yeah.
Now, for those of them out there who are unfamiliar with who she is, would you mind giving us a bit of a background on who Batwoman is specifically?
Well, there's actually, I believe, multiple Batwomans, but when it comes to the Batman franchise, Batwoman is actually one of the characters who I haven't really followed as much as, like, Nightwing, Dick Grayson, Jason Todd, all those. But yeah, I believe that she's actually one of the more interesting characters in the in the whole Batman lore, Bat family. But yeah, I have to actually.
Okay, Brian, do you know any little bit of a backstory about who Batwoman is?
I know the main Batwoman right now is Catherine Kane. She's not
Cassandra Kane, I believe, or something like that, or.
Two different characters.
Yeah. I'm thinking of the other one. Yeah.
Kate Kane and Cassandra Kane. They're two different Batman characters. Kate Kane is essentially, she's not really part of the Bat family. She's not she wasn't trained by Bruce Wayne. She wasn't, one of his wards or anything like that. She sort of took on the Bat mantle on her own as a way to fight crime, and she's a bit more violent than Batman. Well, depending on which Batman, they sort of fluctuate on level of violence.
Yeah, that's true. But I am interested in seeing this get into the works, because out of a lot of the productions being made for superheroes, I have a lot of respect for the CW. Whenever they cover a character and background, and even from things like weapons, small time accessories, and armor pieces, they try and be real into details and whatnot. And I gotta have a lot of respect for it. Anyways, on to the next story. Some good news for anime fans. Evangelion 3.0 plus 1.0 finally has a release date. The final film in the rebuild of Evangelion series will be releasing in 2020. The film has been delayed quite a bit, but it's originally intended for a 2013 release. Now, for those of them unfamiliar with the series, Brian, would you mind giving us a quick recap on what the Evangelion series is about?
Okay, the series started with an anime called Neon Genesis Evangelion back in 1996, and it was a mecha show that was also a deconstruction of the mecha show. It sort of tore apart the things we'd grown to expect, the hero bravely sitting in the mecha, fighting off these monsters, the power of friendship will save us all, and it deconstructed that. It had a cowardly protagonist. It had a morally gray, overarching government conspiracy going on. It had all these things, and it dissected how hard it is to be a human being, how hard it is to be alive, how hard it is to interact with other people. Because if you really get down to the nitty-gritty, it is hard being a person. And
it really is.
And it's influenced anime for decades now, not genres. And the rebuild of Evangelion series is essentially a film series that retells the events of the anime with a few major changes. There are new characters in there, new plot events. I actually haven't watched the film series yet. I've been waiting until the final film came out, which turned out to be a lot longer of a wait than I thought it would be. But the original series is well worth a watch if you're willing to drop the $200 it takes to actually get a legitimate copy.
Okay, awesome. Well, anyways, on to the next topic. Wait. Actually,
we have one more story.
Yes, it's unpleasant, but yeah.
Less pleasant news.
Do I get stuck with the unpleasant news again?
No, Brian. I will do you a solid on this one, and I will take the bad news for this episode. Because you've had a reputation for it. I'll let it slide this one time.
Thank you.
Well, anyways, with all seriousness, though, ladies and gentlemen, yesterday, some very drastic news has kind of been dropped on people in the pop culture industry. James Gunn, the director of the Guardians of the Galaxy franchise, volumes 1 and 2, and in my opinion, one of the reasons why Marvel started to take a more colorful approach to their films, has recently been kicked out of Marvel by Disney. And this is due to the fact that previously, a conservative journalist, I forget his name specifically, but after a small argument, he decided to unearth almost 10,000 tweets going from about 8 years back to 2008. And around this time, James Gunn was a bit more of an edgelord. And we all know that one guy in high school who was like this. He posted really cruel jokes, misogynistic jokes, pedophilic jokes, homophobic jokes, all these things for shock value. But it suddenly gets unearthed now. And even though James Gunn had done a 5-tweet thread apology to everybody, he has been kicked out of Marvel. He is not attending San Diego Comic-Con this year. and they're already in talks of replacing him with the director of Thor Ragnarok. Unfortunately, I forget his name.
Taika Waititi.
Yeah. But this is a really big bit of news.
Yeah.
And we were kind of hoping not to have to deal with something this big. Brian and I have been having to really deal with a lot of the drama floating around the pop culture industry. In fact, just recently we had to cover the whole Guild Wars 2 fiasco with Jessica Price, and now this gets dropped onto our lap. And we really didn't want to have to share this kind of bad news with everybody, but it needs to be talked about.
But it's news.
Yeah.
It's bad news.
So I'm going to have to go around the rotation here. Guys, what are your thoughts on this, starting with Brian?
Okay, so what he tweeted is horrendous.
Yeah?
It's disgusting, it's vile, it should never have been tweeted, and he deserves to have consequences for what he wrote, even if it's later on down the line.
Yeah.
I'm just... On the one hand, there's the argument of this was all 6 to 10 years ago, he could have changed, but back then he was a 45-year-old man. James Gunn is not as young as some people think. He was a 45-year-old man, he'd already been married, he should have known better. And I think that maybe... I think this is warranted. I think he deserves to have punishment for this, and maybe this is it. Maybe this is his mea culpa for what he wrote.
I suppose.
Yeah.
Ira, what are your thoughts on this whole fiasco?
So, about this whole fiasco with James Gunn being removed from the Guardians of the Galaxy franchise, I'm not really sure if he actually deserves to be fired from, making the Guardians 3, because he was already working on it, written, and he was actually supposed to be starting to film, I believe, starting this fall, because it was supposed to be out like at least in 2020.
Yeah.
So, but again though, about those tweets, so yeah, there's no getting around it that they were disgusting tweets and can't really be defended in any way. But even though he said he has a couple of years ago, he did, like in 2012 or something, he did apologize for those tweets that he put out back then. Even though he wasn't like a kid or anything at the time, he said he wasn't like that anymore. But yeah, it's just I think it's just the world we live in now is just filled with a lot of hate, that a lot of sensitive people who are just who will basically looking for anything to take another person down for any reason. So that I think that's just one of the reasons why all this trouble happens, just because of the time we lived in. Similar to Roseanne, where she got fired from her show a couple months ago. A similar situation to that because of what they're saying, and it's just like social media has become basically more dangerous in this day and age than it ever has, because you can basically lose your job just for what you say that somebody doesn't agree with. So that's just what my take on it pretty much. It's just the times we live in now have changed from back then. Yeah.
Makes sense. Lucas, do you think the Guardians of the Galaxy franchise is going to be able to do fine without James Gunn?
That's a really hard question. I would say,
because I know you're a big fan of the franchise. Me and you watched the first movie together and everything.
I would say no.
Why not?
Because the dude that made Thor, right?
No. The guy who directed Thor Ragnarok is supposed to be taking his place.
Oh man, it's because look, he made that movie, but why would they give up the director, man? The director needs his job, man. He made the first one and the second one, and that made me just all sad. I wish they made the third one.
Okay. It's reasonable. Well, at the end of the day, I can understand why Disney decided to fire him. I mean, Disney is a family company.
Yes.
If somebody's going to start saying all these bad things, particularly aimed towards children, they can't afford to be dragged into this kind of a spotlight. So it's reasonable that he had gotten fired. But at the same time, I find it weird how it took everybody almost 8 to 10 years to suddenly start getting really angry and upset over this. And it actually hasn't even taken them that long. Back in 2012, James Gunn had to make another apology over his tweets again, because those ones were unearthed that were more misogynistic compared to his now pedophilic tweets and everything. And while at the same time, Brian, you're correct. He was around in his 40s. He can't hide behind the fact that he was immature and all that stuff. But at the same time, it has been so long since that had happened. He has changed as a person. We see his Twitter page nowadays compared to what it was back then. Yeah. He wasn't as toxic nowadays as he is then. In fact, nowadays, his Twitter feed was a lot more political, more so than it was for shock value.
It's just the times now.
Yeah, but at the same time, I don't necessarily feel that, like, the Guardians of the Galaxy 3 is necessarily ruined. It's just, it's going to be a huge tonal change, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Because while Thor Ragnarok did a pretty good job of trying to be lighthearted and humorous like Guardians of the Galaxy, its own film series itself had its own little tone, something subtly different than what Thor Ragnarok had going for it. But I mean, there is hope. There is hope. Mm-hmm, I mean, I'm not holding anything against that director. He might actually do pretty good. It might actually be a really great Guardians of the Galaxy film. But at the same time, you just can't help but just kind of, it's like 50-50. You don't know if you should feel bad for James Gunn or if you shouldn't, because you don't feel bad for him because he posted those really bad tweets, but at the same time, the fact that he got fired so many years later for it is shocking.
Yeah.
But just know, we here at the phone booth, we're not sure where we stand on it.
Yeah, we're kind of torn on it at this point. It's an issue without an easy position to be behind, because there are so many different factors to take into account.
Yeah.
And it's something that I think everyone is going to have to sort of come to their own opinion about.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay. Well, anyways, ladies and gentlemen, now that we finally got to cover the news of the week, it's time to enter another little segment that we like to call Trailer Talk. Now, any of you who's been tuning in to the phone booth since the very first episode, Brian and I like to keep you guys in a recap of all the latest trailers that have come out within the week. Now, we only have 4 trailers listed here, but we're at 5 actually, but we're going to be talking about a few more, because and at the same time that we were printing out this script, 3 extra trailers had gotten dropped on us in the process. So we're going to talk about those 3 at the very end of this short list. And please note that at the end of this episode, the links to every single trailer we talk about is going to be available in the descriptions below. So please stay tuned. Now, the first trailer we're going to be talking about is Glass, the much anticipated crossover between Unbreakable and Split. Glass follows superpowered security guard David Dunn as he hunts down Kevin Wendell Crumb, a man with 24 distinct personalities, one of which being the beast, the animal, which gives him like super strength and agility and stuff, and Mr. Glass, a man with incredible intellect but a fragile body. Glass stars Bruce Willis, Samuel L. Jackson, and James McAvoy. Now, when seeing this trailer, it looked really interesting, because it seems as though the premise is that this one lady hunted down, or I can't really say hunted down, but she tracked down all 3 of these individuals and brought them into what looked like a psychiatric ward. Mm-hmm. And she said she specializes in patients who sincerely believe that they are superheroes. So then everything starts to build up, and we get to see how Mr. Glass starts to team up with Mr. Crumb. And they're going to try to devise some sort of epic villainous plan, and it's up to Bruce Willis's character to stop him. Now, I want to hear your guys' thoughts. Brian, what were your thoughts on this trailer?
I liked it. I like that there is going to be finally a conclusion to this sort of giant film that M. Night Shyamalan's been trying to make since Unbreakable. He said that Unbreakable was the first act of 3 in this giant movie he wrote, and that Split is the second act. It's good to see that this is reaching a conclusion, and it just looks fun. It looks like a fun take on superheroes and supervillains in a more grounded setting, which I know we get a lot with, Iron Man and
Watchmen and stuff
Batman,
like that.
But this looks honestly grounded. It's, no one believes they're superheroes. In fact, they're locking them up for thinking they are. They're putting them in a psychiatric institution.
Mm-hmm, definitely. Ira, what were your thoughts on the Glass trailer?
I think it looked interesting. I really enjoyed Unbreakable when that first came out all those years ago, and also in Split as well was pretty good. Yes, so the trailer gave me kind of a Watchmen type vibe, from the that old Watchmen movie. I think the way that they were captured for believing that they were superheroes, and it looks like it's going to be like an interesting take on this whole superhero type or superpower genre that in the age of the MCU and stuff like that. So yeah, it looks pretty fresh in my opinion, because especially since it's set in the same Unbreakable type universe and things like with all those other movies as well.
Okay, cool. Now, Lucas, you got to watch the trailer with me earlier this morning. What were your thoughts on the Glass trailer?
The Glass trailer was really awesome, man. It was like twice as awesome than you think.
What was your favorite scene that was shown out of the trailer so far?
Like, I remember the one when part with the wheelchair dude. I forgot.
Mr. Glass.
Yeah, Mr.
Played by
Glass.
Samuel L. Jackson.
And they have fight, I guess. I don't know.
There's supposed to be some sort of a throwdown between the two characters at the end of the movie, which is something I'm looking forward to. But yeah, ladies and gentlemen, be sure to tune in. Be sure to give that trailer a watch as soon as you can. We all guarantee that it is going to be a pretty good film once it finally comes out. Now, the next trailer that we have is the second trailer for Bohemian Rhapsody. Now, for those of you who are unfamiliar with the Bohemian Rhapsody movie, this is basically
Biodrama.
Yeah, it's a biodrama about the life of Freddie Mercury, the lead singer of the band Queen, and possibly in my opinion, one of the greatest musicians of all time.
Definitely.
Yep.
Yeah, we get to see.
Definitely, yeah.
Yeah, we get to see him joining the band becoming popular, him becoming a real icon in the community and everything. And I'm not usually into stories that talk about the origins of a band or a musician, but this looks really, really good.
Yeah,
Now,
I have to agree.
I want to hear your guys' thoughts on this, starting with you, Brian. What were your thoughts on the Bohemian Rhapsody trailer?
I honestly loved it. It went into a lot of detail about it. It shows, Freddie Mercury joining the band after they have a gig in some sort of bar or something. It shows them recording Bohemian Rhapsody, We Will Rock You, things like that. It delves into some of his the more personal aspects of his life, his sexuality, the fact that he contracted HIV and then AIDS, things like that. And the fact that they licensed the music is amazing, because there was a rumor for a while that they wouldn't be able to actually have any Queen music in the movie, which...
That would have been horrible.
It really would have.
I don't know how they would be able to do it without Queen music, but okay.
Yeah, you can't have a movie about Freddie Mercury without some Queen music, man. Anyways, Ira, what were your thoughts on the trailer?
Yeah, I thought it was pretty good. I liked the way that the vibe of the trailer. It gave me reminded me of the other film trailers with about different musical groups, like the Straight Outta Compton, the Walk the Line, those other films about biographies about different musical groups. And yeah, also I like another thing is just the way that the arenas with the different crowds, the way they move. I like the CGI effects in that, about how the different crowds move around and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And some of the songs that they're playing in there, like how Queen made a song that pretty much everyone can dance to with the "Rock You" song and all that.
Yeah, We Will Rock You.
Yeah, that's
Queen.
that looked interesting as well. It's pretty good trailer in my opinion, with all those songs and crowds and stuff like that, the music and all.
Yeah. What about you, Lucas? You got to see that trailer as well. What were your thoughts on Bohemian Rhapsody?
Well, it was a good trailer, and like when you pay attention to it, it gets familiar, and then it gets good, and then
The whole nostalgia factor of
the songs are from earlier.
Yeah, these were songs made by the band and everything.
Yep.
Yeah.
Do you want to go? Does it make you want to go see the movie?
Yes.
Well, that's all the trailer really needs to do.
Yeah, that's the main factor. As long as people want to watch it, you're good to go. All right. So we're going to go on to the next trailer. And this one is a more action-y film, which is directed by J.J. Abrams of known...
Produced by J.J. Abrams, not directed.
Sorry, produced by J.J. Abrams of known Cloverfield fame and whatnot. And this trailer is called Overlord. The premise to this one is that on the eve of D-Day, U.S. paratroopers drop behind enemy lines to infiltrate a small village. But unfortunately for them, they realize that the Nazis are experimenting with supernatural forces to fight them.
Oh, okay.
And this is a good trailer. from what I had seen so far, it's kind of like a combination between a war movie and a horror movie, which isn't something that you get to see very often, aside from Call of Duty zombie campaigns and everything. And it is literally 4 soldiers end up being stuck in this location. Nazis are everywhere, but they happen to infiltrate an enemy base. And going into that base, they come across some creatures that a Nazi doctor had called 1,000-year army and 1,000-year soldiers. So it could only be theorized that this is some sort of an experimental zombie virus or something. Nobody knows. But I'm definitely interested in it. There is a ton of action scenes in it that we got from the trailer. Machine gun fire, flamethrowers, all this good stuff. Brian, what were your thoughts on the trailer?
It looks pretty good. It's, the cinematography looks good. The zombies look impressive. They look almost like a cross between vampires and zombies with how powerful they are. I'm more interested in it because this was going to be the next movie in the Cloverfield franchise. Yeah. And then J.J. Abrams announced that it won't be anymore, probably because of how badly the last Cloverfield film did. But J.J. Abrams is a known liar. So I'm going to go see this under the assumption that this is a Cloverfield movie and he's just lying about the fact that it's not.
What about you, Ira? What were your thoughts?
Yeah, I actually enjoyed the trailer a lot. So it actually kind of reminded me, of it gave me a bit of a Wolfenstein vibe, because it has the Nazis, the supernatural elements, like the zombies and stuff like that, which Wolfenstein also has in its games. So it kind of reminded me like of a live action Wolfenstein movie to me, which I'd actually would like to see someday. So
definitely. We all have high hopes for that.
Yeah, so that's one of the main reasons that I'd like to check that out.
Okay. What about you, Lucas? You got to see the Overlord trailer. Do you think it was a good one?
Yes, it was.
Okay, and what about it did you think was good?
The part that I think was good was like when the Nazis get tested and they turn into
yeah, they turn into the creatures. Yeah.
Weird
creatures.
Thing.
Yeah, it's really hard to describe it because we can't necessarily call them zombies because
we just don't know.
Yeah, they're just kind of like super-powered beings, which makes sense because in World War II, the Nazis were trying to create a 1,000-year army, but it wasn't exactly specific on what that 1,000-year army would actually be. But anyways, we recommend that you give that one a watch if you're interested in a good popcorn action flick. Now, our next trailer is more of a children's trailer, but one that's been anticipated for a very long time in the fandom. Invader Zim Enter the Florpus.
Yes, Invader Zim.
Yes. Now, in this trailer, Zim discovers his almighty leaders have no intention of coming to Earth, and he loses confidence in his own amazingness for the first time in his amazing life, which is the big break that his human nemesis, Dib, has been waiting for. Now, when I watched the trailer, I kind of have to admit I was slightly disappointed, only because of the fact that we didn't get to hear any dialogue. Throughout this whole trailer, it was cinematic music being played over the rest of the trailer. And I checked to make sure, and this was the official trailer, and all we got was audio. But of course, I'm really excited in checking out this movie. Back when I was with the YouTube channel Single Mind Productions, I had the opportunity to interview the voice of Gur, and he said that he'd finally finished all of his lines for this project, and it was supposed to be done sometime last year. But I didn't get to hear anything back from him, so I'm kind of just hoping for the best, I suppose. But this trailer looks really good. The animation looks good. It's just like a classic Invader Zim with like a small little polish over it to make things look a little more modern day. But that's kind of all I have to say on it at the moment. What is your thoughts on it, Brian?
I absolutely adore Invader Zim, so I was just happy to get this trailer. There's a lot of visual humor in the trailer because there's no audio. And there are a lot of fun things. There's this extended, series of scenes with Zim and Gur just sort of doing calisthenics on their lawn. The animation looks a lot better, but that's mainly because Invader Zim was pre-HD by the time it got canceled. It was 2001, 2002. So the advancements and, just technology for showing film have given it a bit of polish. It's nice.
Yeah, definitely. Now, Ira, what were your thoughts on this trailer?
Well, I'm pretty much just happy to have Invader Zim back in any form. So I was gonna like no matter what, but I like it. Think it looks pretty good. With the cinematic music playing over it and the audio and stuff like that, it It did remind me of the classic Invader Zim episodes from back in the day, like in when it was originally airing in 2001 and 2002, years like that. And it just, it gave me the nostalgia feeling, and it looks like it's going to be, just remind people how good it was back then in the modern day, pretty much.
Okay, that's good. That's good. So Lucas, I know that we didn't really have too much of an opportunity to watch Invader Zim all too often because we don't usually have access to cable. But I know you got to watch a little bit of it, and I'm just curious as to what your thoughts are on this Invader Zim trailer.
I'm thinking it's good. I'm thinking it's good for a child's movie, which is good, right?
Oh yeah, of course. Invader Zim is a children's cartoon, even though some people contest to it being a little darker than most.
Okay.
But, what exactly was your best part? The part of the trailer you liked the most?
The best part is the house.
Okay.
Like the house.
Yeah, Invader Zim's house.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, a lot of people loved that part of the cartoon, especially because of all the weird things that would happen coming from the house and everything. But yeah, we definitely recommend that you keep tabs on this trailer, on this film itself, because I have a gut feeling this is probably going to be premiered on Nickelodeon as opposed to premiering in theaters.
That's similar to the Hey Arnold movie that came out last year, and the new Rocco movie that's coming out, supposed to come out this year as well.
And, I find that a little weird because Cartoon Network, they're more than willing to launch movies into theaters and everything, whereas with Nickelodeon, they seem to want to stick to the channel itself.
Yeah.
But to each their own, I suppose. So the next trailer we have on our list is one that we've been keeping close tabs on for quite a bit, especially due to the teaser that happened before it. And this trailer is for Godzilla, King of the Monsters.
Yes, amazing
Godzilla!
trailer.
Yes.
Amazing trailer.
Oh, yeah, it's amazing. It's amazing. Now, as the Earth faces ecological disaster, scientists at Monarch, a corporation that's been floating around since Kong Skull Island, and but there's supposed to be more information given at a later date. Scientists at Monarch have only one solution: to wake up the sleeping titans across the world. Now humanity must try to survive as Godzilla, Mothra, Rodan, and King Ghidorah clash together in this epic battle of the monsters. Now, Brian and I have been pretty excited about this because the teaser trailer that came out before this San Diego Comic-Con trailer included an alternate reality game. And that one was pretty interesting. Brian, would you mind telling the audience a little bit about what the alternate reality game was that followed with the short trailer?
Okay, so it's essentially you can access this monster tracker that Monarch has set up. And as time goes by, you get higher security levels. Right now, you can only see 4 of the monsters. You can see King Ghidorah, Rodan, Godzilla, and Mothra. But there are tons of points scattered across the globe hinting at even more monsters, which goes along with the director saying there are more than just these 4 monsters in the film. They're just not revealing what they are yet. But the alternate reality game is a lot of fun. It gives you some of the lore. The lore ties into the original lore for these creatures in the Toho Godzilla series, but sort of remixed for the American version. And this trailer is just amazing. I mean, I'm a huge Godzilla fan, but being able to see Rodan and Mothra and even the little hints of King Ghidorah we get to see rendered in this new style where they're not just people in suits, but they're actually, fully CG. It's amazing.
Definitely. Ira, what were your thoughts on this trailer?
Well, first of all, I want to say that I think this entire trailer pretty much made up for the entire 2014 film, in my opinion. Even though I enjoyed that film, but I thought it was pretty mediocre back in the day. But
Brian
this film,
did a good
but
job.
this trailer alone pretty much made up for that entire film because we got to see a lot more of Godzilla in it than we did in that entire film, and all the different type of monsters he's going to be fighting as well. And looks like some of the characters, even in the trailer, might also make up for the first 2 main leads back in the 2014 Godzilla movie. But because it's just pretty much looks like it's going to be like the Godzilla movie that movie should have been back then from 2014 that we really want to see. And also it's also leading into like the new monster universe because they're going to have like Godzilla versus King Kong the year after. So that's what I'm excited to see that as well. So that's one of them. And this one looks like it's going to be a good lead into that. So
I'm actually pretty glad that you brought up the fact about the whole Godzilla versus King Kong movie because, as we stated earlier, in the alternate reality game, you get to see all these pinpoints located all over the globe, and there's this one point right in the middle of the Pacific Ocean, but nobody has clearance to it yet. They're going to drop more clearance to access more monsters as time goes on. But Brian and I theorized that it could very well be Skull Island. Mm-hmm. So, it's basically confirmed that this is going to be a shared universe between all of these monsters and everything. Now, Lucas, what are your thoughts on this sequel to this an introduction to an epic universe of monsters?
Well, I would give that movie a 5-star because it has good graphics and it has good monsters in it.
Okay.
And if you watch the first one and the new one, it's pretty good.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's good. That's good. Now, as we stated, ladies and gentlemen, we have a couple of extra trailers to talk about that isn't included on the script, and it is because of the fact that they were all dropped right on us as we were getting ready to do this show. So I want to take an opportunity to talk about each of these trailers just to give them their little moment of the spotlight. And I want to start off with the sequel to Fantastic Beasts, The Crimes of Grindelwald. Now, I'm a little unfamiliar with the plot myself. Brian, you're more in touch with the Harry Potter universe than I am. Would you mind telling people what this is going to be about?
Well, this is actually a lot of guessing because this is sort of rewriting some of the Harry Potter history, but it appears that after the events of the first film, Grindelwald will have escaped custody and is trying to build up an army to sort of eradicate muggles or subjugate them, something, to put wizards and witches on top. So Newt Scamander now has to team up with a young Dumbledore to stop him.
Interesting. And from the trailer that we had gathered so far, it looks really good. It has that usual Wizarding World vibe to it. In fact, this trailer actually announced this production company, Wizarding World. So this is going to be like a shared universe, I suppose.
Yep.
But we got to see a lot of magic, some new magical creatures. We got to see the monkey that Newt Scamander had carrying around in his briefcase in the first film.
The Niffler.
Yeah, and a lot of old original characters are popping up. Jacob, I believe his name was.
Yeah, Jacob Kowalski.
Yeah, he's going to be making a return, which I'm excited about because I loved that character, and to see him return into this sequel is going to be really awesome. Brian, what were your thoughts on this trailer?
It looks like it might be good. I mean, visually it's stunning. I'm almost sort of burnt out on Harry Potter at this point. It
really?
feels like there's a bit too much, and it feels like they're sort of trying to rewrite the series canon just to make room for more movies. Because this is supposed to be the second movie in a 5-movie series.
5-movie series?
Yeah, it started out as it was going to be a standalone, and then they said, okay, it's going to be a 2-part film. Then it was 3 parts, and now it's 5 movies.
Yikes.
Yep.
Well, maybe they might do what the Harry Potter series did and do like a parts 1 and 2 to a certain part of the series or something.
Maybe.
But it's a possibility.
Yeah, it's a little exhausting. Plus, there's been some controversy around Johnny Depp for actions in his personal life, and there have been calls for him to be replaced, and the director has basically said no and tried to defend him for his actions, which are indefensible, so that didn't look great.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose. Anyways, Ira, what were your thoughts on this trailer?
Thought it looked pretty good. I'm liking the new different magical creatures that they showed and the different type the new characters and things like that.
Yeah.
And I think it looks like a solid expansion to the whole Harry Potter universe, pretty much. Exposing the world of the Fantastic Beasts to different people and new audiences, and yeah, just interesting to see more. And so far, because I enjoyed the first one, and this one looks like it's going to improve on that one too. So it's pretty much.
That's good. That's good. Now, Lucas, I remember you and I got to sit down and watch Fantastic Beasts when it came out on DVD, and I remember you enjoying it. What were your thoughts on the trailer for the sequel?
Well, I'm thinking it's a good movie. I would give that like a 5-star too as well. But why are they like? It looks like they're repeating Harry Potter, but like different.
Well, the events of Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them take place before the events of Harry Potter. That's why Dumbledore is appearing younger, and I don't know. But it's still going to be interesting. I'm looking forward to it at least. Now we're going to finally dive into the DC aspect of these San Diego Comic-Con trailers because we've gotten quite a couple. We have about 4 DC titles to talk about. And I want to start off with the 2 that's supposed to be included into the DC Universe streaming service because DC wants to do what Netflix does and stream TV shows. And so far we've gotten 2 announcements, 2 official trailers for these announcements. And we're going to start off with the Young Justice trailer. I believe it was called Outcast.
Yeah, Outcast, yes.
Yeah. Now,
Outsiders, yeah.
Now, it looked pretty interesting to me. I ain't going to lie. It looked really good to me. But I also have to admit that I'm not necessarily somebody who is completely in touch with the Young Justice universe. So I'm going to pass it on to my friends here because they have a bit more knowledge on it. Starting with you, Brian. What were your thoughts on this new installment to the Young Justice series?
It looks good. The animation quality is consistent. It looks like they've gotten all of the voice actors back. And it looks like they're going to be introducing a lot more elements of the expanded DC universe, which is something Young Justice all we've been sort of good at. It's going to be introducing Darkseid as a villain. They're going to be going to new planets. We saw Lobo in there for a brief second. He'll be returning.
Yeah.
Overall, it looks pretty good.
Yeah.
That's good. So what are your thoughts, Ira?
Yeah, I think it looked good as well. Pretty solid. Especially since they're actually going to be able to pick up on that cliffhanger that it ended on like back all those years ago.
2013.
When it was canceled. But I'm just happy about the fact they're actually going to be able to continue to pick up on that cliffhanger when what's his name? He's the villain.
Darkseid.
He met
Vandal Savage.
Yeah, Vandal Savage met Darkseid, and they're going to be able to continue with that storyline, and we're going to finally see what how that arc plays out. And pretty much they did, like you said, they showed Lobo, they showed Guardian, and a bunch of different new heroes, some who I'm unfamiliar with myself, but it looked pretty good, and like it's going to be one of the first solid addition to this new DC streaming service next year when it comes out. Yeah, that's good.
Now, Lucas, I know you didn't get to watch this trailer, so I'll let you slide on this one. But I do gotta admit that this trailer for Young Justice looks pretty good. One of the reasons why I enjoyed I only got to watch a few episodes, but what I enjoy about Young Justice so much is the exact same reason why I enjoyed the Justice League cartoons as well as the Justice League Unlimited. You get your own little look into the extended universe of all heroes in DC. It's characters that hardly ever get talked about. They usually always have that one episode where they actually get their moment to shine. The whole episode is circulated around them. And from what I had seen of Young Justice, I was interested in it as well because it did the same thing that Justice League Unlimited did as well. It introduced new characters that almost nobody gets to hear about because
Black Lightning actually appeared in Young Justice before his own show and stuff like that, and also.
Yeah, definitely. Characters who don't really get their chance in the spotlight too often get their moment to shine, and I'm grateful for that. So I am glad that Young Justice is going to be coming back. The one thing I'm not looking forward to when the DC Universe streaming services come out is Titans.
And before you watch the trailer for this and before we talk about it, we need to give a hard content warning for blood and language. Yeah, there's one moment you will not expect from Teen Titans in there.
Yeah, definitely.
And we're not going to say it because, the FCC will come down upon us with the wrath of God.
Yes, definitely. Just know that there is an F-bomb dropped at a certain point within this trailer. But this show, Titans, it seems to be a modern-day retelling of the Teen Titans series. But there are some obvious changes. For one, Cyborg is not available in this show because at this moment, Cyborg is involved with the Justice League, given the last Justice League movie that came out. But we get to see Raven find Robin, Dick Grayson, who appeared to be like somewhat involved in law enforcement. Because I know later on in the comics, Dick Grayson became like an FBI agent or something like that.
At one point, he was a cop. He became sort of an FBI agent. It looks like in this one, he's going to just be a cop.
Yeah. But Raven comes to Robin talking about her powers. And at the same time, we also see a montage of Starfire and Beast Boy as well. And we get to see Starfire use her powers, but unfortunately, we don't get to see Beast Boy do anything. We see him leap into the air off of a building at one point, and his skin finally starts to turn green, but for some reason it fades out before we actually get to see him do anything. And from the trailers that I got to look at, it also looks like they're going to be showing Hawk and Dove.
Yeah.
Two other little-known DC characters that also got their spotlight on the Justice League Unlimited show, but I digress. But from what I thought about this trailer, it looks like a fan film to me.
I agree with that.
The CGI effects that were used are mediocre. Robin's outfit looked pretty good. I gotta give him credit for that. It did look pretty good. But they also made everything super edgy. I'm not going to say the F word because, of course, we can't. But there's a scene where Robin drops in from an alleyway and the thugs are like, "Where's Batman?" So then he starts beating up everybody and then he shoots a bunch of guys with a pistol. Not necessarily something that the Bat family is known to do. And then he says the almighty line, "F Batman," which is now becoming a meme floating around the internet and everything. But that's enough of my ramblings on it. I want to hear your guys' thoughts on it. Brian, what were your thoughts on the Titans trailer?
The wigs are so bad, especially ones like Starfire's and Beast Boys. You can tell they're wigs. They look like they're made of plastic. It's just
Yeah, I agree with that.
They're so bad. But I believe Ira said it looks like a fan film.
Yeah, pretty much. I agree with you on that. But so that's a. Oh yeah, so pretty much what it reminded, the trailer for Titans, it kind of gave me that whole Inhumans vibe from Marvel. You know, that's honestly, I think some of the characters from Inhumans, like Medusa, how people were complaining about how she looked. I'm getting that type of vibe from Starfire now, pretty much, and it's just the way that the trailer, like you said, it just looks like a fan made project with the mediocre CGI and. Even Beast Boy and Raven don't really look that good either. Well, in my opinion, but
I agree.
Because it's just, kind of reminded me. Beast Boy kind of reminds me more of Titan from the Inhuman show as well, and he's giving me that vibe. And so it's just, to me, in my opinion, it's looking like this could end up being the DC version of Marvel's Inhumans, though, from this whole trailer. But I hope it doesn't end up that way. But that's just the vibe I'm getting pretty much right now. So
yeah, I agree.
You just gotta wait and see, pretty much.
I agree. Now, Lucas, we'll get to your opinion in just a second, but I wanted to give a little bit of a clarification for you, the audience. If you guys aren't familiar with Inhumans, it was basically a TV series that Marvel wanted to try and launch. It was based off of its own little group of superheroes in the comic books. Now, this was streamed on, I want to say ABC?
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, it was on ABC for a certain number of episodes. 10 episodes, and it immediately received backlash from the audience. As Ira stated, the whole thing looked like a fan film. Action scenes looked too small. The environments just didn't seem to fit right with the characters. The costumes seemed a little under-dramatic.
The wigs were bad.
Yeah, and then the CGI for the dog was just ridiculous. But anyways, just wanted to give you guys a little bit of context. Now, Lucas, you got to watch the trailer with me when we were here at the station. What were your thoughts on the Titans trailer?
The Teen Titans Go trailer was awesome. I have to give that at least a 5-star.
Titans, not Teen Titans.
Oh, well,
yeah.
I say, okay.
Teen Titans Go is having its own movie, but we're talking about the Titans series.
Yeah.
Okay. So, again, you thought it was pretty good. What do you think was good about it?
Well, I liked the graphics on the new one because it's much better. Like, it got better graphics, it got better view, and
that's good. Okay.
Well,
I'm glad you liked it. I'm glad you like it because usually, because I mean, almost all DC comics are supposed to be aimed towards a younger audience, and of course, the DC Universe's streaming service is trying to aim towards people of all ages. So it is pretty good that it reaches out to everybody. Now, the next DC trailer that we have is not for the Universe streaming service. These next two are their own standalone films, and I want to start off with Shazam. The one that's been floating around for a minute with rumors and everything. And in case you guys are unfamiliar with the story of Shazam, it's about Billy Batson, a kid who's just kind of been floating around the world, to kind of doing his own thing, trying to fend for himself. One day, when coming across a being known as the Wizard, Billy Batson gains this amazing ability where all he has to do is just say the word Shazam, and a lightning bolt will strike down on him, and he becomes the amazing Captain Marvel. But due to copyright terms, he's called Shazam in the movies. And So far we're given the ability of flight and the ability of strength, and he is also bulletproof. But in the comic books, he has a lot of other abilities as well. In fact, he's actually pretty close to being on par with Superman time to time. But what I loved so much about this trailer was that it has this genuine, lighthearted vibe to it, which is like a nice breath of fresh air from the DC universe. Seeing as everything else was trying to be dark and broody and edgy, this movie looks genuinely happy and excited. You know, Zachary Levi, the guy who's playing as Shazam, had said this movie is basically like Tom Hanks is big with superpowers, which I think is a pretty accurate description of what this movie looks like so far. Now, of course, I want to hear you guys' opinion on it. Brian, what were your thoughts on the Shazam movie?
I thought it looked good, but of course, all DC movies look good in the first trailer, and we don't. But I think if they can keep this lighthearted tone, then it'll be good. I think they really want to embrace the fact that this is, a 10-year-old kid that gets superpowers. He's gonna mess around with them. He's gonna use it to get free stuff. He's not exactly gonna be, the most moral guy, but he's gonna be a kid having fun with it. And they need to embrace that.
Definitely. Now, Ira, what were your thoughts on the Shazam movie trailer?
I thought it looked all right. Just pretty much, like you said, it's pretty much going for this lighthearted tone, which a lot of movies like, say, Batman versus Superman or maybe even Justice League wanted to go for a dark, edgy tone. But yeah, this it reminded me more of a MCU movie, pretty much. How with the tone, the vibe, and with the lightheartedness, and so yeah, that's another thing I liked about it as well, pretty much. And with Billy Batson becoming Shazam and getting to hang out with the rest of his younger friends as an adult too. I think it's going to be pretty good. Looking forward to this movie.
I'm glad you're looking forward to it, Ira. Yeah. It does look like a good movie. Now, Lucas, what were your thoughts on the Shazam movie?
It was good. I'm gonna have to say it was a good trailer, and when he says Shazam, a lightning bolt strikes right on top of him, which is cool, and he turns into a superhero. And then when he just gets to the story it talks about.
Now, we have one last trailer to talk about. And then we can finally wrap into some of the events that came out with Comic-Con. And this trailer is Aquaman. Something we've been seeing lots of posters and exclusive figurines and collectible items of, yet we haven't gotten a trailer at all until now. And I gotta say, I was not disappointed. This trailer looks actually pretty decent. The poster got a lot of backlash because it kind of looks like something a college freshman would make on their computer, but the trailer itself looks genuine. Even the underwater scenes. I was afraid personally that the underwater scenes would look tacky and CGI'd, but they actually look good, which is, of course, a necessity when you are going to be making an Aquaman movie. Now, what were your guys' thoughts? Starting with you, Brian.
Looked really good. Visually, it's stunning. It looks like it's going for a lighter tone, not quite as light as Shazam, but a lighter tone than, say, Batman vs. Superman or Man of Steel. The director, James Wan, has said that this will be sort of a self-contained movie. It's not going to be like the next chapter in the DC universe tying into the next Justice League movie or anything like that. It's going to be its own story, showing its own visuals and things like that. It won't be sort of bogged down with the rest of the DC universe. And that's good for Aquaman. Aquaman can be fun. Let Aquaman be a bit campy.
Of course. People loved Aquaman in the Justice League movie because he was a bit more lighthearted than everyone else. Now, Ira, what were your thoughts? Yeah,
I thought it looked great. The trailer with this new Aquaman movie, it looked pretty good. Gave me kind of, a Black Panther-like vibe. How he's a whole kingdom. He's got an underwater thing with Atlantis and all that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's giving me the Black Panther vibe right there as he's a kingdom as well and stuff like that. So, yeah, and I like the lighthearted tone as well, again, like they're going for, which most MCU films do as well.
Yeah.
And also, Aquaman, since he was actually one of the better parts of the Justice League movie, this has potential to be as, I think, good as maybe Wonder Woman was or something. But,
yeah, it has potential for it, definitely. Now, Lucas, what were your thoughts on the Aquaman trailer?
The Aquaman trailer was... It was good. It was legit good. The graphics, the water graphics, all the scenes were good. legit good. You have to watch it. You would probably give
Yeah,
it a 5
he
star.
likes it pretty much. Yeah.
That's good. That's good. I'm glad that you enjoyed the trailer for that film. Now that about does it for our trailer talk, ladies and gentlemen. Remember, at the end of this video, there are going to be links to every trailer in the description below. So be sure to check back in afterwards if you'd like to give them a watch. Now, the moment we've all been waiting for, guys. Comic-Con is already halfway over. It's kind of amazing that time's already flown by so much at Comic-Con. But which means we have a mountain of announcements to get through. So, well, let's get started, guys. So Joss Whedon is going to be working on a reboot of Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
Yes.
With the intention of casting a black actress in the main role. Now, Brian, you were able to gather this little bit of information. I'm afraid I didn't really know too much about the Buffy the Vampire reboot. Would you mind filling us in a little bit on the information?
Honestly, there's not a ton. So far, all we have is a Hollywood Reporter report that says he's working with producers to reboot the series. There's been no official announcement yet. And it looks like Fox will be involved somehow. We're not quite sure how, because there was a lot of network shenanigans with the first run. For the first 4 seasons, it was on Fox, and then for the last few seasons, it was on the WB, which was the predecessor to the CW.
Mm-hmm. Now, I gotta admit, I am pretty interested in the idea that they are rebooting the series. Buffy the Vampire Slayer was a pretty interesting television series for me. I used to watch it as a kid on weekends when I'd be at my aunt's house. She used to binge watch Buffy, Charmed, Angel.
Yeah, I used to watch all those shows as well. Yeah.
All those things, yeah.
And Charmed is reboot as well, also coming out.
Oh, they're doing a reboot for Charmed as well?
Yeah, you didn't know about that? Yeah, that was at Comic-Con at a panel also.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm happy you mentioned Charmed because you reminded me of that reboot they're working on as well.
Oh man, well I'm excited, ladies and gentlemen. I loved watching Charmed when I was younger, so the fact
It's
that they're
coming to CW, I believe. Yeah.
Yeah, so the fact they're rebooting it is pretty awesome. Ira, so since you're such a big fan of the series, what are your thoughts on the fact that Buffy is going to be rebooted?
Yeah, actually, I enjoyed watching Buffy as well when I was back in like junior high and in elementary as well. It's pretty much I like to, since I enjoyed that, can't wait to see what Whedon's going to do with this next one. And it's obviously going to be a real reboot because, they're casting different actors, but they're still going to be the same characters pretty much.
Yeah.
Buffy Summers is going to be played by a black actress now. So just pretty much wait to see until they give more details because, we just can't wait for more details on it, pretty much.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to finding out if there's going to be any tonal changes to the series, because as Brian had talked with me about earlier, there were a lot of different problems high school kids faced back then compared to nowadays. So there's potential for perhaps some new enemies to appear or things like that. I'm not entirely sure. Anyways, on to the next little topic.
Marvel is relaunching Spider-Gwen as Ghost Spider. And this new name will come with a new ongoing series and a new creative team behind it. So, honestly, I'm okay with the name change. They are marketing it as a new member of the Spider-Verse when it's really just the same member with a new name.
And that frustrated me so much. And I don't know why. It's just, if you're going to say that a character is getting a name change, you might as well say, hey guys, we're going to change Spider-Gwen's name. She prefers being called Ghost Spider. They did this with Captain Marvel. Instead of going as Miss Marvel, she became Captain Marvel. Yeah. I don't see why they couldn't do that.
Miles Morales also got a name change recently. I forgot what it's called, like Kid Spider, something like that.
Okay.
Yeah, that's also another thing.
Yeah, so I just find it a little confusing because it's like, why say, hey guys, we're introducing a new member of the Spider family. You guys are excited? I know you're excited. Please welcome Spider-Gwen. But her name is changed now, so she prefers going by Ghost Spider. But I'm nitpicking. I'm seriously nitpicking, so just ignore that. Anyways, let's go on to the next little bit of news that we have here. Now, Star Wars The Clone Wars is finally returning. The animated series is returning for a 12-episode season chronicling the Battle of Mandalore, the last major battle of the Clone Wars. We don't know when the season will premiere, but we do know it will be exclusive to Disney's upcoming streaming service. And I find that a little interesting because until now I didn't really know that Disney is going to be doing its own streaming service.
Yep, they're waiting for. They made a deal with Netflix back in like 2013 that in 2016 Netflix would start getting Disney things up through 2019, which a lot of numbers there. But essentially, they're waiting till the end of 2019 or at least the fiscal year to launch it, so they have access to the streaming rights for all the Marvel movies, all the Disney movies that are currently.
They'll also probably have access to Fox stuff too by then as well, because that deal could go through. And
oh yeah, the Disney Fox deal that's going on. In fact, I'm glad you brought that up because recently it's been stated that Comcast is not going to be offering another bid for this whole bidding war about Fox. So it seems completely finite that Disney will be getting the rights to Fox at some point in time when the deal is finally set. Now, what time that is going to be done, we're not certain, especially because recently I remember a Fox employee trying to file suit to try and make this last even longer.
A shareholder filed a suit essentially claiming that the valuation done by Goldman Sachs was inaccurate. It didn't take account of a lot of Fox's assets, so that Fox would be selling for a lot less than this shareholder believes it's worth. That's sort of getting the shareholders out of some of their money they'd be getting from this deal.
And that's an interesting little bit of news. But all that aside, this trailer looked really, really good. Lucas, I know you weren't able to watch this trailer, and I apologize for that. I'll be sure that you check it out after the episode and all. But from what I had seen, it seems really good. It seems like they really are trying to pick things up from where they left off last time. Now, I want to hear your guys' opinions on this, starting with you, Brian.
Well, Dave Filoni, the creator of the Clone Wars and later Rebels, said that this was originally what the end of the series was supposed to be. It was supposed to end in Season 6 on the Battle of Mandalore, but unfortunately they got canceled after Season 5. They got brought back for a few episodes that were Netflix exclusive, which can be interesting to see how that works out with the Disney thing. But it's good to see that it's coming back to get its proper ending. It's going to have a lot of closure for some of the characters, even though some of these characters already got closure in Rebels. But
well, I mean, we'll just see how it goes. Ira, were you able to catch the trailer for the new Clone Wars?
I didn't watch the full trailer, but I saw a little bit previews of it. But for the news that Clone Wars is returning in general, I'm just happy about that because I enjoyed the last season and enjoyed enjoyed the series in general back then, and just seeing, like, because it's similar with Young Justice, we're actually going to be able to see how they're going to be able to end the series the way they wanted to end it, pretty much, and I'm just excited about that fact, pretty much.
Okay.
With this returning show as well.
That's awesome. That's awesome, and I'm definitely looking forward to seeing this new season of the Clone Wars once it's finally out and everything. Now, our next little bit of news is a new miniseries has finally been launched into the DC universe. The Batman Who Laughs is getting his own horror-oriented miniseries. Now, if you guys are unfamiliar with the Batman Who Laughs, he is essentially like I want to say a Joker version of the Batman.
Yeah, he's a Batman that's been infected with the Joker toxin. He has essentially become a fusion of Joker and Batman.
Yeah,
I agree.
And all this is taking. In case you guys are wondering, I've never heard of the Batman Who Laughs. This guy got released around the time of Dark Knight's Metal, where different variations of the Batman had come to fruition and everything. I mean, I admit it's going to be pretty interesting to watch. To read, of course. I'm kind of hoping that there is an ultimate confrontation between him and the Dark Knight. Because to see Batman fight the Batman Who Laughs would be pretty interesting to watch.
They've also said they're going to be adding a new evil form of Batman. It's a Batman who became obsessed with guns after his parents were murdered. And he's been compared to sort of a fusion between Batman and the Punisher. We don't have an official name for him yet, but we've seen in a sketch that said artillery bats in the corner, so possibly that's the name, or maybe that's just a placeholder, but...
Interesting. Now, Ira, have you been able to keep any tabs on the Batman Who Laughs?
I haven't really kept up with the Batman Who Laughs, even though I'm aware of the story and what it was about, but yeah, I haven't been following it too much, but this is actually pretty interesting, exciting news for people who are interested in the, the half Batman, half Joker type stories and things like that. So yeah, this might be an interesting read to check out as well. That I'll probably check out.
Now, Lucas, I'm curious as to wondering, what is your idea? What are your thoughts on the idea of a Batman with the fusion of the Joker's mentality? What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I'm thinking I think it's gonna be great.
Okay, well that's good enough. It's simple
Yeah,
enough.
Batman.
Now, on to the next little bit of news. Andrew Lincoln has confirmed that we will be leaving The Walking Dead. And this is around the notion of the Season 9 trailer of The Walking Dead. Now, unfortunately, I haven't been able to watch this. Brian, would you be able to fill us in on some information about this?
As best I can, I haven't watched Walking Dead since Season 4, so there's a bit of stuff. But essentially, it takes place after a massive time jump from the end of Season 8. The zombies are seemingly less of an issue now. I mean, they're still a threat, but they're less prevalent. It's been years. Rick Grimes and his crew have managed to set up their own community. They're trying to start trading with other communities out there, but of course there's some bad blood from past events because Rick Grimes is a walking tornado of chaos. Mm-hmm. And it looks good. It looks like it's going to be focused more on the conflict between humans. I say more of, even though that's really been all The Walking Dead's been for the past.
Yeah, kind of, yeah.
Yeah, for the past since like Season 3 or something like that.
Yeah, it's But the zombies, they've shown a huge horde coming. The zombies are still a threat. There's some sort of black helicopter seeming to following the community.
Okay.
I'm not quite sure what that is.
Interesting. Now, I admit I am pretty interested in the idea, especially if it's theorized that this is going to be the end of the Walking Dead series, because it has been going on a lot longer than a lot of us had anticipated. I know I personally thought it was going to end at around Season 3, maybe Season 4. This thing has branched out to 8 different seasons.
AMC at one point said they wanted the series to at least last 10 seasons or something. A couple of years ago or something. So they would end it at around 2020 or 2019 or something like that.
Yeah, and I know recently The Walking Dead isn't the only series in the franchise. I know we also have been introduced to Fear the Walking Dead, which is supposed to be more of an introduction to the zombie virus.
How it happened, pretty much.
Yeah, and it's supposed to lead all the way up to the events of the first season. And it makes me wonder if the original Walking Dead is planning on ending soon, if either Fear the Walking Dead is going to continue on, or if they're going to try and end around the same time that The Walking Dead itself ended. Because AMC has been known to have originals that continue after a previous one had ended. After Breaking Bad ended, we were introduced to Better Call Saul, which was a prequel to the Breaking Bad series, and that one seems to have been going on for quite a bit now. I believe it's in Season 3, Season 4 now.
And it's actually apparently going to cross over with the beginning of Breaking Bad.
And you know what? And I'm really looking forward to that. So, and I am glad that information has come to light. Now, there is a couple of other things that I did want to talk about. First thing that I wanted to talk about was the trailer that we were given for the Marvel Rising Initiation series at Disney XD. Now, the Marvel Rising Initiation is also part of the Marvel Rising Initiative. And that is Marvel basically saying they want to try very hard to include a lot more diversity into their comic series. They want to create characters with backgrounds in just about anywhere you could possibly think of, regardless of ethnicity, race, or sexual orientations. And the trailer that we had gotten was the animated series that's supposed to be on Disney XD. And we were introduced to characters such as Ghost Spider or Spider-Gwen.
Kamala Khan or Miss Marvel. Yeah.
And Squirrel Girl was also shown in there as well. But it looked interesting enough to me. It looks like your traditional Disney XD Marvel cartoon, like Avengers Assemble or
I like the vibe of it. I think it looked pretty good. With the way that they're introducing these new characters, or who a lot of people who aren't really familiar with the comics or anything and don't know characters like Miss Kamala Khan, Miss Marvel, or Ghost Spider, or characters like that. That I think it's a good way to introduce new younger audiences to it as well. Because it's still going to be for kids, for a younger audience, but it still looks like it has potential to be pretty good coming out. Like, because the first is the shorts are going to be the initiative, and then they're supposed to lead up to like a movie called Secret Warriors, Marvel Rising, or something like that. That's going to be in the fall and stuff.
Okay.
Like yeah. So yeah.
Yeah, you know what? I'd actually be looking forward to a movie about that.
I think it's gonna be like on a Disney Channel or something.
Yes, especially if it's going to be introducing more characters to younger audiences. I'm always down for kids learning more and more about
Squirrel
unknown
Girls.
characters.
Yeah, like that. Yeah.
Yeah. Brian, I know you got to watch the trailer as well. What were your thoughts on the Marvel Rising Initiation?
Actually, didn't manage to watch the trailer, but I heard some of the audio from it. Honestly, I'm not thrilled. I haven't seen the animation, but I'm not thrilled with the way the dialogue sounds. It seems very mediocre. It sounds like it's a show designed to sell toys. You know, it's stilted dialogue. It doesn't sound like a lot of effort's been put into it beyond, hey, look, these are these figures at a Toys R Us near you, or other toy store that hasn't gone down in flames.
Okay. Well, I mean, that's reasonable. Another little bit of news that I wanted to talk about was that they actually introduced a new spider, but he wasn't the one who was introduced into the spider family. This is the Superior Octopus.
Oh, good lord.
Yeah, this takes place around the saga of the Superior Spider-Man, where Dr. Octopus had switched bodies with Peter Parker, and he ended up becoming his own version of Spider-Man. His outfit was in fact designed with a lot more lethal technologies, such as taser webs and all sorts of stuff that's just is not your traditional Spider-Man. And he decided he's going to branch off into his own hero. He wants to redefine himself and not just be known as the Spider-Man all of New York knows. So he upgraded his outfit. His outfit is silver and greenish. He has all of his gadgets that he originally had before, but this time he also has the Dr. Octopus tentacles attached to the back of his character. So he's literally a crossover between Dr. Octopus and Spider-Man. So I just want to know, what are your guys' thoughts on the idea of this character? Brian, what are your thoughts?
Honestly, it's going to be a thing for a while. It's going to probably have an ongoing series. I don't have a lot of feelings about this. It's good. It feels like they've been doing this a lot, crossing over heroes and villains. And I feel like it's just a gimmick that they're going to get over in a few years.
Okay. Ira, what are your thoughts on this new take on the Superior Spider-Man?
I think it sounds a bit interesting with the idea of Dr. Octopus, kind of sounding similar to the Batman Who Laughs type of thing for me, as the crossing over and putting their new spin on it. So yeah, that's what pretty much what I'm taking from it.
That's a good comparison. Yeah, that's actually a pretty good comparison. Lucas, what are your thoughts on this? Idea of a Spider-Man crossed over with Dr. Octopus with all sorts of deadly gadgets and his very own octopus tentacles attached to the suit.
Well, I'm thinking the gadgets might be cool. And I think the gadgets are cool and all that.
Okay, that's cool. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I have one last little bit of news that I wanted to talk to you guys about, and it's one that I'm actually really excited about. It's actually one of my favorite parts of Marvel Comics, the revival of Marvel Knights.
Yes.
Now, for those of you who are unfamiliar with Marvel Knights, it's a series that's kind of been focusing on the more grounded superheroes, not necessarily like Captain America and Iron Man.
It's more like, Punisher and
Daredevil, Elektra, Ghost Rider was in Marvel Knights at one point in time.
Yeah, the street level heroes and stuff like that.
Yeah,
pretty much.
And this one shot thing happened a while back, but it
was like the early 2000s or something, I believe.
Yeah. But in celebration of Marvel Knights' I want to say its 20th anniversary, they're going to be doing a one-shot comic where it's refocusing on all these characters. And I gotta say, I'm honestly excited because the Punisher movies, the first two, Punisher and Punisher War Games, as well as the second Ghost Rider movie, all take place in a specific Marvel Cinematic Studio, Marvel Knights Productions. So if they're really going to revive Marvel Knights, then hopefully there's a possibility that they might decide to bring back the Marvel Knights production studio, and perhaps we'd be able to see like a brand new Daredevil movie or a new Elektra or something like that. But anyways, what are your guys' thoughts on the Marvel Knights finally being resurrected?
On Marvel Knights, I was a huge fan of the original Marvel Knights runs back in like those early 2000s, and I like the tone that they went for back in the day. It was always gritty and dark and pretty much also similar to ever heard of the Marvel Max series runs back in the day as well?
Not sure if I heard of those.
The more adult type comics that they used to do,
Oh, right.
and where they were gritty and more violent and stuff like that.
Yeah,
That's similar to what the Knights runs reminded me of. So yeah, that's what I just want to see how much more grittier and more this different type of creative stories they can tell with this new one shot coming out. So that's what I'm looking forward to, pretty much.
Okay. Brian, what are your thoughts on the Marvel Knights getting resurrected?
I think it's interesting. I think I'm glad they're, reviving an imprint focused more on their, grounded heroes, their street level heroes, because I feel like recently Marvel's gotten sort of bogged down in their Fantastic, because we had the Battle World, and then we had Nazi Captain America,
and he's not dead yet, by the way. He's still floating around.
Of course not. Why would you?
Well, he's still in another alternate reality or something like that. I think.
Because recently they did a Punisher comic. Because
Punisher became Ghost Rider pretty much in.
Well, no, actually, at the moment, the Punisher actually has access to the War Machine outfit.
Yeah. That was recent, but I'm thinking of something different.
But in the latest issue of the Punisher, where he has access to the War Machine outfit, at the very end of the comic, some Hydra agents infiltrated a prison base, and they end up releasing Hydra Captain America, which I think is a little ridiculous.
Because why wouldn't you want Captain America to still be a Nazi? It's not like he was created for the express purpose of fighting Nazis or anything,
Yeah, it kind of just contradicts everything that Captain America was originally designed to be. But I don't really have too much to say about all of that, because I'm just going on a whole tangent.
Yeah, it was Marvel Knights. Yeah.
But Lucas, what are your thoughts on the Marvel Knights comic series? The fact that they're bringing back stories focused specifically on people like the Punisher, Daredevil, Ghost Rider, and all that stuff.
The most things that are interesting is the Ghost Rider.
Okay.
And the other comics too, but I would give all those comics a good rating, man. All those comics are good.
Yeah. Those characters are pretty interesting. I think he would like too, pretty much.
Definitely. So, anyways, that about does it for today's episode of the Phone Booth, ladies and gentlemen. Be sure to stick around next week. We are more than excited to share with you guys some more information on the latest world of comic books. And we're getting ready to close up for the day. Now, remember, my name is Ed Heitman, your host, and joining me in the studio today is my good friend Brian Rodriguez, our comics expert Ira Ford, and my little brother Lucas Heitman. Now, remember, tune in next week for some more amazing content from the Phone Booth, and have a wonderful, wonderful weekend.